Welcome to Guide Mia. Today we're going to talk about specifically how to message the other people on a case using Cympha's in-case chat. This one is for everyone: the clinician who submitted the case, the lab manager it went to, the designer or intaker working it right now, and even a doctor messaging a patient on a clinical case. By the end you'll know exactly where the chat panel lives, who can read what you post, when your message also goes out as an email, and how chat differs from the case's activity log. It's a short lecture, because once you know where the panel is, sending a message takes less than a minute. Follow along with the case open, or just listen now and read the written guide later. Let's set the frame first. Every case in Cympha carries exactly one chat conversation, and it lives right on the case page. It is not a case-wide broadcast, it's a working conversation between the specific people involved in that case, and nobody else. Each message you send can optionally also go out as an email, and you decide that per message, not per case. And one distinction to hold on to for the whole lecture: chat is not the activity log. The activity log is the case's audit trail, the formal record of what happened. Chat is where the quick back and forth lives. We'll come back to that difference near the end, because knowing which one to use is most of the skill here. You need two things, and the second one trips people up. First, a case you can open from your case list, or straight from its address if someone sent you the link. Second, you have to actually be a participant on the case. Chat is reserved for the people working it. If the case was merely shared with you by a colleague, you'll see a shared badge in the case header, and that tells you your access is read-only. You can view the case, you can look at its files, but you cannot post in chat, you cannot upload files, and you cannot change the status. So if your send box never appears, check the header for that badge before you go hunting for a bug. So who exactly is in the room when you post? It depends on the kind of case. On a lab case, the chat connects three people: the doctor who submitted the case, the assigned lab manager, and whoever currently holds the case, the designer or the intaker working it right now. A genuine three-way working conversation. On a clinical case, the chat connects the doctor with the patient the treatment plan was shared with, and no lab staff can see or join that conversation. And these two worlds never cross. Patients never see lab case chat, and lab staff never see the doctor and patient conversation. That separation is deliberate, and it means you can speak freely in each one without worrying about the wrong audience. Step 1: Open the case, and get oriented on the case detail page. The page has two panels. The right side carries the facts of the case, patient information, the case details, and the file list. The left side carries the conversation, and that's where we're headed. Scroll the left column and you'll pass a section titled Activity Log first. Keep going. Just below it sits the section titled Case Chat. That's the panel for this whole lecture. It's always in the same place on every case, so once you've found it once, you'll never look for it again. Here's the case detail page, and it's worth pausing on why this layout matters. Everything about the case, the files, the status, the record of events, and the conversation sits on one page. When a question comes up about a case, you don't dig through an email inbox trying to remember who said what and when. You open the case, and the conversation is right there, next to the files it's talking about. The next person who picks up the case sees the same thread you do. That's the quiet advantage of in-case chat over email: the context never separates from the conversation. Step 2: The message itself. At the bottom of the chat panel is a multi-line text box. Its placeholder tells you the rules. Type a message, and use Shift and Enter together for a new line. Pressing Enter on its own sends immediately. The box grows a few lines tall as you type, then scrolls. Messages are capped at 2,000 characters, which is long enough for any working note. If you're writing more than that, split it. Next to the box are two icon buttons. The mail icon toggles whether this message also goes out as an email. We'll spend a whole slide on that choice. And the send icon posts the message. It stays disabled until the box actually has content. Step 3 is just a glance. The moment you send, your message appears at the bottom of the chat panel as a chat bubble, carrying your name, your avatar, and the timestamp. Your own messages render on the right side of the panel, everyone else's render on the left. That left and right split sounds cosmetic, but it's what lets you skim a long thread and tell at a glance who said what. Your half of the conversation is always on one side. If the bubble is there, the message posted. There's no separate confirmation step, no pending state to watch. Now, who actually sees what you just sent? The other participants in the conversation see it the next time they open the case, and if they happen to be on the case page already, it appears immediately, because the page updates live. On a lab case, that audience is the doctor, the lab manager, and the current worker. On a clinical case, it's the doctor and the patient. Just as important is who does not see it. Colleagues the case was shared with are not in the conversation, shares are read-only. And patients you shared a lab case with through share to patient are not included either, that's a separate, narrower workspace. Chat reaches the participants, and only the participants. Here's the choice that decides whether your message gets seen tonight or next week. With the mail toggle on, the same message is also delivered by email to the other people in the conversation, everyone in the channel except you. Use it when the message must land, like a question to the doctor at the end of the day. With the toggle off, nothing hits anyone's inbox, the message waits on the case. That's the right default for routine back and forth, it keeps inboxes quiet. The lab side has one more tool, an email customer button in the larger composer above the chat. That sends a formal email to the doctor and is logged on the case as a message from the lab. Use it for things like please retake the CBCT. And because Teams cross languages, every message carries a translate and original toggle. Read a colleague's message in your own language, and flip back anytime to see exactly what they typed. Let's settle the question from the start of the lecture, chat or the activity log composer? They live near each other on the same page, and you can use both on the same case, so the choice is about intent. Chat is quick and conversational, the box is small, enter sends, there's no subject line and no rich text. It's where the everyday back and forth between the people working the case belongs. The activity log composer is the richer compose area above it, for posting substantive updates onto the case's audit trail. On the lab side, it carries a visible to customer toggle, internal comments stay hidden from the doctor unless you turn that on, and the email customer action. So ask yourself one question, am I having a conversation, or am I putting an update on the record? That answers it. And the short troubleshooting list, 4 symptoms, none of them serious. If the panel says no messages yet, nothing is broken, nobody on the case has posted, and you're about to be the first. If your send button is grayed out, the box is empty, and note that whitespace on its own counts as empty. If you posted but the other person swears they never saw it, check whether the email toggle was on. Without it, the message is in-app only. If they never opened the case, they had no way to know. Repost with the toggle on, or use email customer for a formal nudge. And if a colleague the case was shared with says they can't post, that's expected. Shares are read-only, chat is reserved for the participants. So let's put the whole lecture in one breath. Chat lives in the case chat panel, just below the activity log on every case detail page. The conversation is the participants and only the participants, doctor, lab manager, and current worker on a lab case, doctor and patient on a clinical one. Every message carries one deliberate choice, send it as an email to, or keep it in-app. Quick questions belong in chat, on the record updates belong in the activity log composer. Master that, and everything else is just typing. Try it on your next open case, the panel is already there, waiting below the log. Everything in this lecture is written down at cympha.com. Open the docs section and look for talk to the case team in chat, with the exact button names and the full troubleshooting list. If this was useful, consider subscribing. We're walking through every Cympha workflow, one lecture at a time. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.